What is going on, Only Playbook fans? We are back for another episode. Week 8 is going to kick off tonight with my Vikings taking on the Chargers. So I am back. Alongside me is my good buddy Jake, who has been joining us for the last several weeks now. Jake, how are you feeling heading into Week 8, my man?
Feeling good, dude. Panthers are having a great start to the year. So not excited about having to play the Bills without Bryce, but can't complain when you start to see your team actually start to turn the corner and things are looking a lot better.
Yeah, above 500, 4-3. You're hitting some anytime touchdown bets. Life seems like it's pretty good in Flincham land. For me, I can't say the same. The Vikings are kind of sputtering, 3-3. Carson Wentz is starting another week this week. McCarthy's not getting healthy. So as long as we beat the Chargers tonight and we're 4-3 in the same place you guys are, I might feel a little bit better. But it is what it is. We have a lot to talk about. We got to go through our anytime touchdown bets, start sits, boom busts, and hidden gems. Like we always do, let's not waste any time, Jake. Let's jump right into it because we have 6 teams on a bye this week. It is bye-apocalypse, as they call it. Lions, Raiders, Rams, Cardinals, Seahawks, and Jaguars all on a bye. So slim pickings for start sits and, probably some tough decisions that have to be made. So let's rapid fire our anytime touchdown picks. Again, starting with tonight, Vikings are traveling to LA to take on the Chargers. I'm taking the Chargers running back here, Jake Kamani Vidal, plus 125 to score a touchdown. Vikings haven't been able to stop the run that effectively. Chargers are without some of their offensive linemen, so the pass game may not be as effective as we think. Vikings are number 1 or number 2 against opposing wide receivers, so I think they're going to lean on the run game. And Hassan Haskins is not playing, so he is also out. We already know Omari Hampton's out, so, it's literally Vidal and no one, so I expect him to find the end zone if they're going to score. Give me Kamani Vidal at plus 125.
Yeah, I like it. I'm going with Ladd here this week. So we've seen an extreme uptick in the amount of targets he's been receiving. I think that we'll likely see him continue to get a lot of targets. So I think Ladd's going to find the end zone tonight.
I like it. Manifest that for your team, man. I like to hear that.
I need it.
We'll jump over to Cincinnati where the Bengals are hosting the Jets this week. Joe Flacco, an under center, again, looked kind of good against Pittsburgh, led them to a victory in that upset against Pittsburgh last Thursday night. So this week, I'm going to keep it simple. Jamar Chase is getting hot again. He's finding some connections with Joe Flacco. Like you said, good price for Jamar Chase. It's hard not to take minus 110 to score a touchdown. I'm taking Jamar Chase this week.
Yeah, I like it. Jamar Chase has done great for me, so hopefully he'll continue that streak for you. I'm looking at Chase Brown this week. So I think we're starting to see a little bit of a resurgence with him in the Flacco offense. My fingers are crossed that's the case as a fantasy owner. I think this is a good week for him to start to get things flowing. If he can't score against the Jets, then I may just have to give up on him as a fantasy option this year.
Yeah, my dynasty team could certainly use that as well. So we're in the same boat. Let's see if both Chases can find the end zone this week. Bears are traveling to Baltimore to take on the Ravens. A lot of uncertainty here, Jake. We still don't know if Lamar Jackson's going to play, and that's going to completely change the landscape of how we view this game, in my opinion. So right now, I am going with the hope that Lamar Jackson is playing. That's why I'm taking his tight end, Mark Andrews, to find the end zone. I don't know what the odds are. It is not listed. But one thing I wanted to add real quick, because you're going to see a theme here. This Sunday is National Tight End Day. I know this started in 2019, so this is the 4th Sunday in October. This is officially National Tight End Day, so I am rolling with a lot of tight ends this week for my anytime touchdown bets, and it starts here. Mark Andrews has been having a shit season. Lamar Jackson's been hurt, but if he's back, I'm taking Mark Andrews. If for some reason Lamar doesn't play, I may pivot over to Colston Loveland for the Bears, but I haven't decided that. Where are you going in this game?
I took a similar route. I'm going to play under the assumption that Lamar is going to play. I also like the bet here because if he ends up not playing, I'm voided. So I went with Lamar Jackson. So I think if he plays, we know how electric he can be. He's going to be running the football a lot. I think he's going to find the end zone if he's playing. But if not, we just get this one voided out and we march on.
I like it. I like the mindset there for sure. First game back, if he is playing, he's probably going to want to ball out and show out. So running into the end zone definitely seems logical for him. Dolphins are traveling to Atlanta to take on the Falcons and their awesome defense. Again, the theme is tight ends. The Miami Dolphins are 25th against opposing tight ends this year. I am taking Mr. Kyle Pitts to find the end zone at plus 200.
I like it. I think that we're going to see a lot of Falcons points here if I had to guess. I'm leaning towards Drake London this week. Obviously, I think Bijan's likely to find the end zone. I'm just not willing to pay the premium on Bijan. So looking at Drake London as what seems like the best receiving option or Penix's favorite receiving option there. So I like Drake London this week.
I like it. Let's move over to Carolina, where your Panthers, Jake, are hosting the Buffalo Bills, potentially without Bryce Young. Has that been confirmed already?
Yeah, he's out.
Okay, so no Bryce Young. It is Andy Dalton at the helm. Tight end themes, as I like to call it. The Bills, I am going with Dalton Kincaid to find the end zone at plus 200. What about you?
I'm right there with you with this one, actually. So I really like Dalton Kincaid this week. Panthers have actually been surprisingly good against the run this year. Now we have played some teams that could have boosted those stats a little bit, but even against Javonte Williams, against A-Chain, there wasn't really a lot of production out of opposing running backs. So I think we're going to see Allen slinging the football quite a bit in this game. I think Kincaid is one of his favorite targets, so got to get him a touchdown on National Tight End Weekend.
I love that. I love that. Eagles, Giants, divisional matchup in Philadelphia. This one, again, I'm going with Dallas Goedert. He's already been so awesome this year at finding the end zone. And Jalen Hurts seems to love him and love him more than he loves his wide receivers. Goddard is on the injury report, so he is questionable to play, so it's not 100% confirmed if he plays or not. If he doesn't play, I'm pivoting over to the tight end for the Giants. Give me Theo Johnson at plus 300. If not, I'll take Goddard at plus I believe plus 175 is what he's listed at right now, but there is a chance he doesn't play.
Yeah, I actually have him built into a different parlay that I just took a long shot tight end parlay this weekend after I saw him at the National Tight End Day. So, but for this game, I'm going with Scotabo. So I think Cam Scotabo is going to be the best option to find the end zone for the Giants. It's going to be him or Dart, I feel like, for the most part in that offense. I just love the way he runs the football. I think he is an absolute bulldozer. I really like his opportunity to find the end zone, whereas I don't foresee they're going to pass the ball very effectively against the Eagles.
Yeah, I tend to agree there. If somebody is scoring, it is probably going to be Dart or Scottaboo there. We're going to go to New England, where the Patriots are hosting the Browns. Man, this could be a pretty ugly matchup, but I'm going to do it. You took him last week. He didn't find the end zone, I believe. I'm taking him this week. Hunter Henry to get into the end zone at plus 200.
Yeah, so a little bit of a risky play because he scored so many times last week, but I'm going to go back to Judkins here. I think he is really the Browns' offense at this point. I think if they're going to score at all, that's my biggest worry here is I'm not sure they're going to against this Patriots team. But I think if they're going to find the end zone, it's going to be Judkins. Could even be something where we see a late game score like what we saw when the Panthers played them, where they're just absolutely demolishing the Browns, and then Judkins gets a garbage time touchdown for us.
Yeah, he looks like the real deal. Again, I think rest of the season, potentially a top 10, top 15 back. The only thing that limits him is the fact that he's not a pass catcher. So that's where they don't use him on third downs. But other than that, you're absolutely right. If somebody's going to score for the Browns, your money, my money, anybody's money should be on Quinshon Judkins there. 49ers traveling to Houston to take on the Texans. That defense has been absolutely fantastic. Last week, George Kittle came back, only had 2 targets, no catches, so an absolute goose egg, but I don't expect a repeat performance for him. In fact, I expect him to get into the end zone this week. So I'm taking George Kittle at plus 185.
Yep, we're exactly together on this one. So especially when I saw him not have a single catch last week, you know that Kyle Shanahan's going to be scheming to get him back involved in the game plan. So definitely agree with you. I like Kittle as well.
Yep, especially because the Texans secondary is so good. Their cornerbacks are really good. So you're getting Kittle essentially with the safety or linebacker mismatch. So I just think they're going to try to exploit that for sure. And obviously parlay that with the fact that the 49ers receiving core is absolutely decimated as well.
Yeah.
Saints Bucks in a divisional game in your division, Jake. I am taking Cade Otton because the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are lacking in pass catchers. The Saints defense is terrible. Cade Otton plus 185 to find the end zone. His usage, his targets, his volume, everything has seen an uptick with all of the receivers dropping like flies. Now, again, Evans comes right back, gets hurt. Godwin may not play. Egbuka played last week on this hamstring injury, and he did not look 100%. So, I mean, are we really thinking that it's going to be Tez Johnson and Sterling Shepard? No, I'm going to go with Cade Otton here at plus 185.
Yeah. I'm still going to ride with Egbuka this week. I think that he's the only real true pass catching option left for them. I think he's going to have a good bounce back week, hoping that hamstring is back to feeling 100% now that he's had a week of practice. He's 2 weeks removed from the injury. So, and the price was right at even money. So I think he's been very consistent at finding the end zone this year. Really like the price at even money for him to get in the end zone.
It is crazy how far we've come on Emeka Egbuka. Like we like a plus 100 odds on him to score a touchdown. I mean, like those are like Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson level odds for receivers, so it's pretty
Yeah.
crazy. But again, he scored so much that at this point it's warranted.
Yeah.
Colts Titans in Indianapolis this week. Keeping it simple, man. We've done this pretty much every week. Tyler Warren is the real deal. Tyler Warren to find the end zone at plus 110 for me. I just don't see this week how he doesn't score. He may honestly, out of every single one on my list, be my absolute lock to score this week. I think he's finding the end zone without a doubt.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I have Warren as well. I really like him and Kittle in a parlay here where you can get pretty good odds on both at plus money. I think there's a good chance they both find the end zone. But yeah, Warren, I think, just has to find the end zone against the Titans.
The Denver Broncos are hosting the Cowboys in what should be a good matchup at Mile High Stadium. I am taking Evan Ingram here, Jake, plus 250 to find the end zone. Saw his workload uptick slightly. He was pretty effective before the injury, and now he's coming back. Again, they have Sutton, but they're still missing a true wide receiver too. Evan Ingram has the ability to be the safety blanket, and we know the Cowboys defense is barely a defense. So typically you can start anybody when they're playing the Dallas Cowboys, and this is the week that I like Evan Ingram to get back in the end zone at plus 250.
Yeah, I'm going to take Pickens here at plus 175. So I'm imagining that PS2 will be shadowing CeeDee Lamb throughout most of the game. I think it's going to open up a lot of opportunity for Pickens. He's clearly shown that he is a touchdown catcher. So I think we have a really good chance that he's the primary target even this week if PS2 does end up shadowing CD and following him around the field.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see how that's going to play out. I know CeeDee Lamb lines up in the slot a lot. I don't know if PS2 will follow him there. If he does, I mean, that's pretty incredible. That means that Pickens should absolutely feast on Riley Moss all game. So this could be a massive boom week for George Pickens.
Yeah.
The Steelers on Sunday night are taking on the Green Bay Packers. Aaron Rodgers revenge game, as they are calling it. I am going to take another tight end. Last week, Rodgers threw a touchdown to all three of his tight ends. This week, he's going to find the man, the myth, the legend, Jonnu Smith, plus 300 to find the end zone against his former team, the Green Bay Packers. So give me Jonnu Smith plus 300 this week.
I like it. I was very close to taking Jonnu Smith as well. I'm going to go with DK Metcalf this week. He's been the primary receiver for them outside of the tight end group. I think there's a good chance we see a deep ball go out to him. Rodgers trying to show off the arm a little bit, probably slings a little bit more this week than he normally would, just to try to show out a little bit against his former team in the Packers.
Yeah, I have to believe that he's going to do that as well. Showcase the fact that he's happy with his new number one wide receiver and pepper him with targets. So hopefully one of those finds the end zone for me and for Garrett, who also has DK in our league. So,
yeah.
And Monday night, Jake, let's end it off with the Chiefs hosting the Commanders at Arrowhead Stadium. I mean, if you knew my theme, you already probably know where I'm going with this. Travis Kelce minus 110 to find the end zone. I'm pretty sure every single game I chose a tight end except maybe one or two, but that is the theme. It's tight end day, National Tight End Day on Sunday. So let's just have a plethora of tight ends find the end zone. Give me Kelce at minus 110.
Yeah, this is probably my biggest long shot, or it is my biggest long shot of the week. I have Patrick Mahomes finding the end zone at plus 330. So we didn't really see him run the football nearly as much last week with having Rice back in the lineup. I think Andy Reid's always scheming up different things, different looks. I think they try to reincorporate Mahomes running the football a little bit more this week. Probably going to spend a lot more time worrying about where Rice is on the field. You have to know where Worthy is on the field at all times. So I think we have a good chance at seeing Mahomes get outside the pocket, use those legs a little bit more again this week like he was early in the year.
Yeah, and that's one thing we talked about last week as well. With Rice coming back, will Mahomes need to run less because Rice occupies all of that middle of the field where Mahomes is typically taking advantage of nobody being there. But now that Rice is running all of his routes there, we don't know. But a lot of his fantasy value came from running the ball as well as throwing the ball. So let's hope he continues that trend. That's all of our anytime touchdown bets. Let's jump over to start sits. We have only 5 this week, Jake. Number 1, we have Bo Nix taking on the Dallas Cowboys. Or would you start the hot Drake May against the Cleveland Browns?
I mean, you know how high I am on Drake May as a player, but I think I still probably have to lean here with Bo Nix just because, one, he dropped 40 last week. It's pretty hard not to incorporate him in a lineup after you saw a 40 bomb go up. But also a very favorable matchup against Dallas. Their defense has been terrible. I expect this to be a shootout, but I also think Dallas may struggle to score against that defense. But I don't think that the Broncos are going to have any trouble finding the end zone. So I like Bo Nix a little bit better here, but I don't think you can go wrong starting Drake May. I mean, he's been unbelievable.
Yeah, I think Drake May has now proven that he potentially could be matchup proof. I know he had a lot of lighter matchups that he's kind of taken advantage of recently, and the Browns defense is pretty damn good at least. So I think I agree. I would lean Bo Nix. 40 points last week, 33 in the fourth quarter, might I add. So just a historic fourth quarter for Bo Nix in a week where you probably thought you weren't getting enough from Bo Nix, and all of a sudden he just goes nuclear in the fourth. So I agree with you. The matchup is way too nice. We've already talked about it. We talk about it all week. We've talked about it all year. Anybody taking on the Dallas Cowboys, you're going to have a pretty good chance starting your players against them. So I like Bo Nix there as well. Next on the board, we have Rico Dowdle taking on the Buffalo Bills, or would you start Jaylen Warren against the Green Bay Packers on Sunday night? This is a tough one for me, Jake. I think I still, even though Jaylen Warren is the number one back, Rico Dowdle is in a timeshare now with Chuba Hubbard. The Buffalo Bills have just been getting gashed on the ground. I know they're coming off a bye week, I believe, so maybe they made some adjustments. That could be the only saving grace for them. But right now, they look like a team that can't stop the run. So even though Jaylen Warren is the starter, Atlanta's defense is pretty damn good. So I actually still lean Rico Dowdle here.
Yeah, I agree with you. I actually think, strangely, that Andy Dalton being the starting quarterback this week actually helps the run game a little bit. Andy Dalton is probably a better downfield thrower currently than Bryce Young is. Xavier Legette actually opens up quite a bit more in this matchup. I think you have a little bit more of a threat of the deep ball, whereas Bryce doesn't quite bring that to the table. Going to force them to not just stack the box against us the way they may have if Bryce would have started the game. And they've just struggled to stop the run against really any team. So I think Rico should be able to have another strong week. And we may even see Chuba have a pretty good week this week, too. I think it could be a double-digit week for both of them.
That would be nice. That would be nice for sure. Keenan Allen taking on the Minnesota Vikings, or Jalen Waddle taking on Atlanta. Might I add, the Vikings, I believe, number 2 against wide receivers in terms of fantasy points, and Atlanta, number 1 against wide receivers in terms of fantasy points. So neither is an ideal matchup, Jake. Where are you leaning here?
This one's really tough. I mean, I think for me, I would maybe lean a little bit more towards Keenan Allen just because of my lack of confidence in Miami's passing offense as a whole. I also am a little bit worried here about the Atlanta pass rush. I think there's a good chance that we really see Tua not even be able to get the football out because they're just getting demolished on the offensive line. They're just getting constant pressure. So Warren or Waddle could be a good option here just because they are likely going to be playing down most of the game. But I think Herbert's shown that he really does like to throw to Keenan Allen. I think he'll probably be slinging the ball a decent bit. So I'd probably lean Allen, but pretty close between the two.
Yeah, it's definitely a really tough one. I think for me personally, the reason I lean Jalen Waddle slightly is just because we know that Jalen Waddle is probably their only real receiving option outside of Achane, who's their running back. And like you said, with the pass rush, this could be a game where Devon Achane gets 10 catches. But the thing is, 2 things. You mentioned it. They're going to be playing from behind. And the good thing with Jalen Waddle is he's just a guy that maybe needs 1 catch to be productive, right? So he just really needs 1 deep ball to be productive. Keenan Allen at this stage in his career, maybe, throughout his entire career, has been more of a possession receiver. So volume is what makes Keenan Allen relevant. And again, the Vikings do a really good job of limiting opposing pass catchers, and pair that with the fact that not only is it QJ, Ladd, and Keenan Allen now, we've seen a surge from their tight end, Oronde Gadsden, not just from like fantasy points, but like targets and receptions, right? A hell of a volume going his way the last 2 weeks. And he looks like the real deal. This doesn't seem like a fluke. Some of it was in garbage time, but again, the eye test for the way this man plays is legit. And I think if we're looking at all 4 of those guys, all of them are young, up and coming, except Keenan Allen. He's like the one wily old veteran. So I just worry that sometimes in some games, like we've seen the last couple of weeks, he becomes the odd man out. So this could be a game where he becomes that. But historically, Keenan Allen, even with the Bears, even with the Chargers, in his first tenure, he absolutely demolishes the Vikings for whatever reason. So if that means anything to you, then maybe you can use your emotional judgment there and play him. But other than that, it is close. It is close for me. But I think for me, knowing that Waddle is the wide receiver 1, Waddle is really their true only wide receiver option, and he's 1 home run play from being, having a good relevant fantasy day. I lean the boom bust potential of Jalen Waddle just based on the matchups here. We have an interesting one here. Wan'Dale Robinson taking on the Philadelphia Eagles, or would you start Rashid Heat against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. For me, I'm going Wandell here. Volume is the name of the game. The Eagles have not shown that they're an insane defense by any stretch of the imagination, at least this year. So you can move the ball on them. You can score points on them. And Wandell and Jackson Dart have this crazy connection where every other play, Wandell runs like a 6-yard slant and Dart finds him. So even if he's getting 7 catches for 55 yards, you're still going to take that as a decent fantasy day. Whereas Rashid Shaheed truly is that boom bust potential wide receiver. And I don't necessarily love the matchup with the Bucs, even though the Bucs aren't the best defense. Divisional games always bring out things that you can't really quantify in statistics and numbers. And I just want to stay away from this divisional matchup specifically, again, because the Saints have Spencer Rattler as their quarterback. So I think for that reason, I'm going to lean Wandell Robinson, just knowing that targets have to come his way. The Giants will probably be down and he's their only, wide receiver 1 at this point.
Yeah, I think I would agree with you here. I mean, unless you're in a situation where you're really expecting to lose this week, you see that you have a much weaker roster, then maybe I would go with Shaheed just for the upside potential of him catching a bomb. But from what we've seen, Spencer Rattler really loves to throw the ball to Olave. He's been eating the past couple of weeks, so I don't see any reason that doesn't continue to happen. So Wandell's really been wide receiver 1 for Jackson Dart, as insane as that sounds to say. I think I'd probably lean his way too, just because the targets are going to be there. But if you're in a position where you think you're going to lose this week and you need somebody that could boom, maybe you do just take a shot on Shaheed and see if he could give you a 15, 17-point game on a long bomb.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that as well. They are quite literally opposite players where Wandell offers you such a safe floor because he's going to get so many targets, but he's not going to get anything deep. And Shaheed offers you high boom, but also high bust because he doesn't get that many targets, but his targets are usually deep bombs. So definitely like the sentiment there. And the last one here, Jake, Jordan Love taking on Pittsburgh on Sunday night, or would you start Caleb Williams taking on the Baltimore Ravens?
I think either of these are pretty good options. They're not playing against the best defenses. I'd probably lean a little bit more towards Jordan Love. And for me, I think this is more of just an emotional decision where I'm going to say, hey, Jordan Love sees Aaron Rodgers on the other side of the field, and he says, I need to show this guy that I'm the guy now and try to really show out in this game. So I think I'd probably lean more towards Jordan Love in this matchup because of the just logistics of the matchup. But I do think Caleb Williams will probably have a pretty good week against that Baltimore defense too.
Yeah, the Baltimore defense has been so bad, like astronomically bad. And let's think about it like this. If Lamar does play, Lamar's going to have no problem scoring on the Bears defense. So this game could turn into a shootout where both teams are just scoring nonstop. Caleb has shown his ability to be fantasy relevant and actually be a good fantasy quarterback at that from time to time because he uses his legs and he takes advantage of pretty bad matchups. This is a bad matchup. The Ravens defense is not good. They should be getting some pieces back on defense after the bye week, but it's still not enough to justify how bad they've been taking a step to becoming a good defense again. So I actually lean Caleb Williams, but I'm with you. I think both of these are good streaming options. Jordan Love for no other reason than, again, the whole sentiment that this game has so much more magnitude than what's on paper, right? Like you said, Aaron Rodgers' revenge game, Jordan Love trying to prove that they made the right decision in keeping him. So I think that goes a long way. So I could see both quarterbacks having 3 touchdown passes and, both, even Rodgers being a viable streaming option this week.
Yep.
That is it for start sits, Jake. Let's jump over to boom bust. My boom this week is Kyle Pitts. I never thought I'd ever have Kyle Pitts as my boom, but he is my boom this week. He's taking on the Miami Dolphins defense, which I mentioned earlier, 25th against opposing tight ends. Pitts is coming off a game where he had 10 targets, 7 for 62 against San Francisco. That's his first double-digit game of the season, and I think this week will be his second. I think he finds the end zone as well. That's why I have him as my anytime touchdown bet. But just historically, Miami against tight ends this year, Tyler Warren, week 1, 7 for 76. He was first in catches and second in yards on the team. Week 2, the Patriots, Hunter Henry and Austin Hooper combined for 4 for 47, both of which is second on the team. Kincaid, week 3, 5 for 66 and a touchdown. All of that led the team. Mason Taylor in week 4, 5 for 65, second in catches and yards. Panthers, Jatavian Sanders was hurt, so they are the outlier to this. Oronde Gadsden 2 weeks ago for the Chargers, 7 for 68, number 1 in catches, second in yards. And then last week, Harold Fannin, 4 for 36, which sounds terrible, but that actually led the Browns in everything because it was such shitty weather. So the moral of that story is the tight end position seems to feast against the Miami Dolphins defense. And I think this week will be no different. That's why Kyle Pitts is my absolute boom this week.
I like it. This one is for all of us that took this man in the second or third round and have been suffering throughout this entire fantasy season. So for this week, my boom is Chase Brown. So I told you I have him finding the end zone. This is a very risky play still in my mind. He's not really shown that he's been effective at all this year. Last week, I was optimistic with what I saw from him, but they're playing the 0-7 Jets. This locker room on the Jets side is just completely depleted. None of them believe in this team. I feel as though they've almost given up and they're ready to just get their number one pick quarterback in the door and start over. I think if there's a week where Chase Brown is going to show us that he's going to be relevant and that he's going to bounce back, it has to be right now. So I like Chase Brown this week. I think he's going to find the end zone, and I think he's going to get a lot more touches.
I like it. I like it. Like you said, we both need it for different fantasy teams. So let's manifest the hell out of that. My bust this week, man, we just talked about him in a start-sit situation, but my bust this week is actually Jalen Waddle. And I've already kind of laid out all of the reasons why. Atlanta is number one against opposing wide receivers in fantasy points, so that already doesn't work well for Jalen Waddle. He's coming off a week against Cleveland where he had 2 fantasy points, his worst game of the year. He's currently sitting at wide receiver 22 on the year, so low-end wide receiver 2, but I don't expect him to have low-end wide receiver 2 numbers this week, again, just based on the matchup. And this other thing you brought up, which is a great point, is the pass rush. If Tua doesn't get more time to throw to Jalen Waddle, those routes will not develop down the field. So unless you're giving him slants or screens, I don't know how long Tua is going to be able to stand back there. So I just expect a lot of two-step drops and then quick dump off to Achane. Two-step drop, quick dump off to Achane. So I'm expecting a lot of that. And so you're just hoping, again, if you start Waddle, that he's going to have one big boom play to make up for the whole day. But the matchup on paper, the defense, just the way the Dolphins aura around them, Tua throwing people under the bus in post games, Mike McDaniel not getting fired despite, potentially looking so checked out that everybody across the league's wondering what the hell they're waiting for. So it is kind of odd to me. This is why I just don't like the aura around the Finns as a whole. So I think Waddle has a really, really good chance to be a bust this week.
Yeah. So I'm going Ramondre Stevenson here. So might not be your typical player you would think of as a bust. I don't know if he's making a lot of folks' lineups, but I was going through Sleeper, saw that he's projected 12.5 points this week against a good Browns defense. And I just don't see any world where he's getting 12.5 points against this Browns defense unless he's getting some 1 yard line touchdowns, maybe if Drake throws it and somebody runs out of bounds at the 1. But I think it's going to be a nightmare day for him. He will be the starter for whatever reason. They hate Henderson over there. I have no idea what he's done to make them angry. But this is a guy, if you have been playing him in your flex spot or you've been starting him as an RB2, I would be looking for an alternative. I think very likely we see a single-digit week this week from him.
Yeah, he's already such an inefficient runner. His saving grace is always finding the end zone. I just don't see, like you said, the Browns letting up a rushing touchdown unless it's a pass interference in the end zone and they're getting the ball to 1 or something. Even then, Ramondre has been so mid and so bad that I could see him getting stuffed 3 times. So even that's not a guarantee with a player like Ramondre. So I actually completely agree with you. He should be in the bust category this week. My hidden gem kicker, Jake, this week is Evan McPherson for the Cincinnati Bengals. He had 19 points last week, his highest output of the year and his first double-digit performance. We know why. The Bengals offense has been abysmal. They obviously lost Joe Burrow. Jake Browning was so bad. Joe Flacco came in, and now Joe Flacco all of a sudden is making this offense move a little bit. They're taking on this Jets team that isn't very good on defense, so they shouldn't have any trouble moving the ball. But I could see them stalling in the red zone a couple of times, and that should lead to some field goals. But I think opportunities will definitely be there for McPherson. He's only rostered in 48% of leagues, so over half of sleeper leagues has this man available. That's why he is my hidden gem kicker this week.
Yeah, we're actually in agreement on this one. I have McPherson as my hidden gem kicker
2 weeks
this week
in a row.
too.
2 weeks in a
row. So very similar thoughts. Yeah, I think they're going to move the ball very well against the Jets. I still am not incredibly confident they're going to continue to score touchdowns, or if they do, maybe they just drop 40 like they did last week against the Steelers. And at that point, I guess, you still live with 7 points. If he's getting 7 extra points, then that's just one you have to live with. But hopefully they'll stall out at least once or twice, give us a couple field goals.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? No matter how many touchdowns they score, like if they score 5 touchdowns or 6 touchdowns, or they just explode, all we need is 1 field goal attached to that to have a double-digit day from him. And I think that's really, really reasonable. So I like it, man. I love that last week we were both on Panero and he had a great day. And this week we're both on McPherson. So let's just repeat that. My hidden gem defense, I'm keeping it right here, Jake. Call me absolutely bonkers here. I'm talking about the Cincinnati Bengals defense, the 31st ranked fantasy defense in all of fantasy football. Yes, it is crazy that I'm coming here, but this is insane because this is not a great week for available defenses to stream. I mean, quite literally, it's a pretty scarce week in terms of what I see in waiver wire. And you're looking at Cincinnati again, who's taking on the Jets. Let's talk about the Jets offense for a second, right? Garrett Wilson most likely doesn't play. He's their only good pass catcher. Justin Fields was so bad that he got benched for Tyrod Taylor, who's like 33 years old. You know, he's not really that good. He's just able to run the offense. Well, Tyrod Taylor appeared on the injury report again out of nowhere. So there could be a world where they have to throw Justin Fields back in there after they quite literally just benched him. I mean, not only is that not good play, but that's probably just not good mentally for him. Vibes around the team, like we just benched you, but now we're forced to play you. Or could it get so bad, Jake, because they've already benched Fields that they're like, you know what? We're actually going to turn to our third string quarterback, in which case that would make this defensive play an absolute boom. So I know there is a lot of variables and factors here, but again, this is a week where there isn't a ton of defensive streaming options available. I know I'm really, really grasping for straws here, and this would be such a massive risk, but you know, even if they get 5 defensive fantasy points, I would be happy and I would walk away with that as a victory. So give me the Cincinnati Bengals and their 31st ranked defense this week as a hidden gem.
That's as hidden as you're going to get there. I mean, that's they may be available in 100% of leagues. So you may be, there might not be anyone that has them. So I went with the one that definitely rostered a little bit more, but still only rostered in about 43% of sleeper leagues. I went with the Atlanta Falcons. Unfortunately, not available in our league. I saw they had already been scooped up, but still available in over half of the leagues out there. I really just don't trust the Dolphins offense very much. I think the pass rush is going to eat them alive. So going to get a lot of points off of sacks here. Could see some interceptions from Tua. So I think the Falcons defense is really going to feast on that Miami offense. So if they're available in your league, I think it's a great play. If not, then hey, why not stream the Bengals, right?
Why not, man? We have a saying in our main league, Jake, and a lot of times this phrase, it gets overused, but the phrase is you got to be the ones. And what that basically means is every once in a while, you have to be the outlier to everything, right? You have to go against what other people say. And sometimes being the lone standing ranger when it comes to like backing something, it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good. You got people pointing fingers. What are you thinking? But until that actually plays out, and then if it actually comes to fruition, there is no greater feeling, my man. There is no greater feeling than being the one person that is, riding on the Cincinnati Bengals defense and they actually produce for you. So this isn't to be the person to say, I told you so. This is quite literally because out of all the options I have, I actually picked up the Bengals defense and I'm going to start them. So I'm putting my money where my mouth is. This isn't just an advice for other people. So I am doing it. I am going to try to be the ones this week and see if the Bengals defense can lead me to victory. But that is it for this week. That is all we have. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Again, if you're watching, hit the like, hit the subscribe. It helps spread the word about this awesome podcast that me and Jake are running. Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, at The Only Playbook. I am Sweetcard. That is my Twitter. Again, this is my good buddy Jake. Let's have another fantastic week. Tight end day on Sunday. Every tight end needs to find the end zone. That way we can cash our bets and let's win our fantasy weeks. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We will see you next week.